Where do we even start?
With episode 1, usually.
So
Yeah.
we could start by saying how all of us probably first said ID software before we learned it was pronounced id Software. You can all
I
admit
pronounce it. That might be a soap only.
I mean, though to be fair, I was like 7 when I first played this game.
I read a lot as a child, but I did not spell a lot as a child. There was a lot of hooked on phonics, so I knew the word id, but I did not probably know how to spell it. If I were put on the spot.
Yeah, one of my friends' dad had a DOS computer, and I played Doom on that. That was my first exposure to Doom.
Standard text, this is definitely a weird source port.
This video is 15 years old.
I will say now, because we're playing in a source port, one thing that makes me sad is that we're not seeing Doom Guy on the bottom of the screen. In fact, I would almost suggest that we stop and find a new video just to add that. But it's
yeah.
There we go. That's what the Doom HUD is supposed to look like.
Yes.
There we go.
Thank God. Finally correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And boy howdy, it's pixely.
Well,
we got authentic pixelation this time.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't come into this thinking it was going to be HD.
Yeah.
This isn't like Brutal Doom.
Although it's kind of crazy that now that you end up with a 3D rendering engine, that means you can actually, you don't really change the rendering code that much to get, crisp pixel, 3D rendering at a huge size.
We swapping videos again. Are we going to Brutal Doom?
I do want to point out very quickly, it is kind of incredible how well this game holds up. I think that's...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, source ports are nice for a lot of things, mostly, being able to mouse look. A lot of stuff that, you don't need, but it makes the game, feel a little more natural, compared to what we have nowadays, but, for what is essentially, I don't know, was this the first FPS? But
no, Wolfenstein is definitely...
Right. I always forget about Wolfenstein somehow, but
it was the best of the
era. This is the big step forward in this one is, not being, Windows 3D Maze screensaver.
Yeah, it had better lighting.
You don't have to be at 90-degree angles. There's heights and floors. All kinds of wizardry. It also, the other big change is, a varied gun arsenal, which is one of the strongest aspects of this. Whereas Wolfenstein 3 had gun, faster gun, and fastest gun.
Right.
This game, it's not technically the first FPS, but it's the first FPS.
It's the first one that people really got attached to.
Well,
it's the one that did it
actually did pretty well as well, but this really is where you hit it, right? This is the Super Mario.
Yeah, Mario wasn't the first platformer, but it was definitely one of the fucking best.
This is the Mario 3 of to Wolfenstein Super Mario 1. It's certainly got level design, but it's not perfect, but man, they got just the variety of gun and enemies is kind of staggering, and they've for the most part got everything they really needed. I think Doom 2 added one new weapon and a few new enemies.
A lot of new monsters. That was the biggest contribution there.
And
varied enemies, yeah.
They basically, any gaps that this game had, they filled it with Doom 2, but like there was a lot of it was still here.
We've got jumping all around. This game is the removal of lives, although it was pretty like late in development. So the soul spheres that give you like bonus health over 100, those were just lives.
Yeah, I mean it's a good move on their part. It's already punishment enough to lose all your weapons.
And you're already just saving a bunch anyway, if you can.
Also innovated on the sounds whenever you mash the use button on a wall. Very great technology. Thank you, John Romero. This game went through a lot of changes, I remember, like seeing some of the betas. It's kind of crazy, like, it's another one where just, from beginning to end, it like was a completely different game.
I mean, yeah, the biggest thing was that there was very much a pull between a more story-driven game and then just focusing on action, which ended up in a very bitter feud that kind of forced one of the people out of the company.
Oof.
With lines, you know, someone who is the creative designer, so their job description at the company is basically just making the plot, versus someone who's comparing plot in video games to plot in pornos.
Oof.
Yeah, I remember seeing that quote somewhere.
A little dated. Bit of a dated way of thinking.
Yeah, there's a lot of what ifs. Like, for all this game did, it did kind of hold back like some of the developments of like more interesting like things, but there's no guarantee that would have worked this early on if you had tried to put it there. So
I mean, if you want Doom with the story, it eventually came out. It's called Duke Nukem 3D.
They're gonna mention Strife, but you know, yeah.
No comment.
Or
fucking
Hexen.
altar to the chainsaw.
Best song, by the way.
What? Welcome to the Chainsaw.
No, the song that we're listening to. But that's a close second.
Isn't one of the songs called "I Sawed the Demons"?
Yes.
Yes.
The song is definitely some mid-90s.
Hell yeah, it is. I mean, we could talk about the fact that a lot of this music is just like midis of rock music from the time. Like,
Yeah, very slightly changed.
yeah, it's like, me and this composer have very similar tastes in music given all of the stuff they just ripped off.
Yeah.
It's similar taste in quotation marks, yeah.
Composer is Bobby Prince. There's potentially a lot of miscommunication between things over who was making sure this was legal, but it kind of just went through anyway.
It was a different time.
Yeah.
It was a different time for legality.
I mean, you've seen the pictures of who developed this game. They don't look like the sorts who were into, all the I's and T's with everything legal.
Yeah, nobody looked like they've ever read a legal document before.
I do love that there was that, like, I think it's on his website or something. It's just a zip file full of MIDIs that are like the beta versions of songs for this game and other unused tracks. And like all of them are quite literally just MIDI music of like Alice in Chains and Stone Temple Pilots. It's kind of insane.
So we had a real
There's a
interesting
little-
gameplay moment there.
Yeah,
with the-
exactly.
Yeah.
With the vertical issues this game has.
Yeah. So yeah, this engine is very trailblazing, but you can't look up or down because that's even more trailblazing. That's actually pretty hard.
Yeah.
Gamers don't look
they're
up, that's
doing.
fine.
And so you have infinite vertical auto aim, which is sometimes interesting.
Well,
Nowadays, they would market it as smart aiming or something.
yeah. And also, actors are infinitely tall, so there is no height on these characters. They are just tall, like cylinders that encompass floor to ceiling.
Yeah.
All the time.
That's for collision. That's for player collision, but like projectile collision does respect height. You
Oh,
can
right.
have the projectiles go fly over your head. It's not quite 2.5D as some people think, but it is also taking shortcuts here and there. Which runs at 35 frames per second because the monitors run at 70 back then, and I don't know if it hit that frame rate on the hardware of the time consistently or not.
Right?
Every game always butts up against hardware of its time. Like, everybody's got a toaster somewhere that they try and run this shit on. And 90s toasters could not, in fact, play Doom. They weren't like our fancy 2025 toasters. You know, like, that's the thing that always gets me, is like, yeah, you shouldn't need a super top-of-the-line computer to play the game at its minimum specs for any game, really. But, like, if you're playing something on a fucking computer that is something you fished out of a dumpster in fucking the early 2000s, yeah, that shit ain't gonna work for games, man.
For the record, this room is as far as I got as a kid. I played this when I was really young. Yeah, I got, like, terrified of this. So I didn't play this game much as a child, which is really funny that I came back to it as an adult, and I'm like, damn, this is one of the best games ever.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish I had more vivid memories of playing it on DOS back in the day. I don't remember any issues it might have had, like frame rates or anything. By the time I had my own copy of it, I was on a Windows 98 hand-me-down PC, which was more than capable of running it.
Yeah, I don't have too many strong memories either, but I do know that I did get the Ultimate Doom and Doom 2 and had a fucking strategy guide and had one of those weird CDs with a bunch of levels from the internet.
Yeah. The important thing
Brady
is knowing
games.
the codes.
Brady Games wins again.
Damn you, Brady.
Mr. Brady somewhere is out there fucking counting his fat stacks.
Yeah, so yeah, this is one of the secrets of this game.
Oh yeah, you have to go down this. There's a trigger when you cross a line down at the bottom of the stairs that makes these two things lower for a split second. Not a split second, but
Yeah, and there's another trigger when you leave.
You have to listen very carefully when you're playing this game, because you have to notice sometimes when stuff opens up whenever you, like, walk over a line def.
and there's nothing stupid when it comes to like actually progressing through the game, but
Yeah. There's a lot of secrets, though. They love hiding stuff in this game.
If you found 100% secrets in every level in this game, you're a liar.
Yeah, I still can't.
well, if you
without
did it in
looking it up.
Ultimate Doom, you're definitely a liar.
Pretty sure there's some that are like actually unreachable due to bugs somewhere.
Yeah, that's what the Ultimate Doom reference was.
Yeah. I think there's also one where like every step on a stairwell is a secret.
Yeah, we'll get to that. So yeah, this is Doom. We're a dude. Okay, so it's the
guy.
future. Space Marines. They're doing weird teleportation experience on like Mars's moons, Deimos and Phobos, and eventually like people are going through and coming out with like just fucking crazy and stuff, or like splatters of blood, and eventually like Deimos just disappears, or no, Phobos does, one of them, and you're on the other one to figure out what's
Newfangled
going on.
moons.
And spoilers, is demons.
Yeah. So name a porno with a better story. I'll wait.
Yeah, yeah.
You mentioned the modding community for this game is it's something. There may be in fact a game that you can buy on Steam that has a reference to the game that I'm making that runs on this engine, a modified version of it, mind you, but it's just made using Doom source port. Like,
And
it's really good.
it's a thing where they went to great trouble to like support the modding community. They put the assets in a separate file called a WAD, specifically because people made stuff for Wolfenstein, but they couldn't distribute it without like just distributing the whole game because it was all in the executable, and, pirating it basically, accidentally. So they did that, and then they also released the source code, which is also a huge thing. That's how it became what it is.
Yeah.
This was the first game modding community, really. Like, I can't think of one from before that was as lively.
There are, but it's none that continue to this day in the same liveliness.
Also,
And here we are in a secret level, by the way.
Yeah, this is the... Does it actually... I forget if it matters which map it's in. Like,
In Doom 1, it does. You can only use secret levels in the maps, the right map slot, but it is just kind of for the game itself. It's whatever they felt like.
each one has 8 maps, and then the 9th map is the bonus map.
Found in a secret exit, carried over from Wolfenstein, of course. For the lasting influence of Tom Hall, who was the one who pushed hard for the inclusion of secrets in the Wolfenstein 3D, and then here, that's just something you do because they expect it at this point. It's just a part of the genre now.
Right.
When it gets to this
Like-
game.
Bookshelves with fucking text on it. They'll never let it go now. Every bookshelf.
Yeah, clearly this game would be the inspiration for the secret levels in Fire Emblem for Game Boy Advance.
Oh, clearly, yes.
Interesting concept, though. Just like, you get to play more of the game if you find the secret.
Yeah.
It's like, I guess they probably have more power-ups in levels like these, but the bonus is just that there's more game.
They don't really. It's just the more offbeat ideas.
Right. I know the sequels look like in Doom
This
2.
one's pretty simple, yeah.
Now, if the game had a score counter, then it would be different.
It did at one point, of course.
Oh, earlier in development?
Pretty sure. It's possible I'm wrong on that, but it had a lot of the other Wolfenstein 3D stuff, and who knows?
A lot of things going on here, like a lot of good use of like kind of digitized graphics. I mean, the enemies are for sure. They're
Like a lot of so like there's the model of Doom. They made a model of Doom guy and scanned it, and then a lot of the humanoid enemies are modifications of that in some way or another, and a lot of other enemies had models as well, depending. This is, of course, the first episode, which is the shareware episode. This game was originally distributed only through like bulletin boards, and which are the precursor to modern forums, and because the internet existed, but not like the World Wide Web. And then it was also distributed on a bunch of CDs or stuff, and it's a demo sort of, but it's just the first episode of the game, and then the second and third episode you mailed in for an order. And with Common Practice, they held a lot of elements back from the first episode due to the second and third episode. But also the first episode is just a lot more polished than the other two episodes and given a lot more intention because it's the one that sells the game.
Interesting practice.
Yeah.
It worked.
Yeah.
It worked, but it was kind of on its last legs from what, for at least for id Software themselves. Oh, these jumps are kind of annoying.
Speaking of last leg, did you know that they eventually made a sequel called Final Doom, and they called it that because it was going to be the Final Doom if it didn't sell, their company was kaput.
Can't wait for Final Doom 16 online.
I just want to talk about the gameplay. Like, Doom Guy is absurdly fast, like to the point that, I mean, yeah, there's like, it's like auto run. Like, you have a run toggle, but you are always running. You are never going to walk. Who would do that? You're crazy.
Walking is for plebs.
Yeah.
It doesn't. The controls are a little weird because, like,
they hadn't fully figured out the mouse and keyboard yet. They had made some strides before, but they hadn't completely figured out. In particular, moving in the original, moving the mouse forward walked you forward, and so backward.
Moving left and right
Yeah,
strafed you, right?
On the mouse, it turned you.
Okay.
Yeah, and there was like a strafe key that you had to hold.
Yeah, you had to hold down a
arrow
strafe key, although I think this Doom was where they introduced dedicated strafe buttons as well. But certainly the default setup was using arrow keys and holding down a strafe key modifier to, actually WASD rather than tank controls.
Yeah,
Right.
left and right keys turned you. The original.
Like
Best
Wolfenstein
thing
3D
Swordsport
had
gave is controls.
mostly the same controls and had some of the same things, but it didn't have as much control customization. And that's where people kind of, as the game was longer and longer, out there longer enough, people discovered the optimal WASD layout, and you started using it.
But yeah, it's kind of incredible to imagine this game being any more story-driven because it feels kind of perfect as just this absurdly fast-paced game where you're just like hot-swapping between weapons for different situations, just running around like mad and blasting people in the face with a shotgun because
I think history has shown that Doom with more of a story is Doom 3. Doom with the perfect balance of story versus Doom craziness is the modern Dooms, where there's story happening around you, but you as Doom Guy don't give a shit. You're just running around blowing shit up while people talk in the area around you, like, holy fuck, this guy is killing everything. And you can just run right past most of them and just go kill more things. So it's like, there's a good balance in today's Doom, where it's like, if you want to hear the story, you can, I guess, but why aren't you killing things?
It's not really that this game is a story, it's that it has a setting.
yeah,
Yes.
What story it has is just to establish a setting.
Has a place
Yeah.
and a villain.
You gotta have at least a little bit of a setting to make things cool.
This is a pretty cool setting, not gonna lie. Evil Mars is pretty great.
Yeah, Demons in Future Tech, it basically came about because of they were considering making a game based on Aliens or Alien. I'm one of the two, and then they
Right.
also had a D&D campaign they were running, which ended in a demon invasion, and those two ideas got merged, and that's how we ended up with the sort of genre bending we've got here.
Knowing these
That is
guys,
one of
it's
the most
absolutely
unique options.
Aliens, because Alien is a horror like thriller in a spaceship, whereas Aliens is shooting the shit out of stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, that was also a there were like initial talks to like be an actual licensed game, so
Sure.
I just didn't know which game was out at that time and stuff, or which
The
movie.
licensed version would go on to be known as Chex Quest.
Ah, yes. Too Cool to Fool, I believe, was the subtitle.
What was the deal with Chex Quest? It was just like,
Oh, it was just a total conversion that used the engine that was made for the serial. Like they didn't do
Yep.
anything special that other people like they didn't have special access to it. They just made.
they just
They
took it.
I forget how it
Classic
worked. But it
Noah's
was
Ark
definitely
style.
something they were allowed to do.
Right. Well, I know they replace all the assets, so like it uses the same engine, but like all the graphics and sounds are just completely unique.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah, it turns out you don't want this in your family-friendly cereal.
mean a little bit.
If only. If only we lived in a universe where it's just Chex Quest, but these enemies.
Yeah, this tech-based area is mostly done with John Romero levels, but also with contributions by Tom Hall, mostly, the one who got forced out of the project. Contributions that sometimes include that annoying maze we saw in the previous level, which is kind of a holdover from the Wolfenstein 3D design philosophy, which is mazes. Gotta fill every square of the map we have.
That's my philosophy.
Yeah, I
God.
feel personally attacked here.
But Tom Hall does have some good ideas in this game, too, as well.
And then there's just the designer with the funniest name, American McGee. I think his stuff is mostly later in the game, though.
Well, he's episode 4. He wasn't part of the original team.
American McGee's episode 4.
Yes. So eventually, like Doom 2 was specifically designed as the commercial release. Like it was, it's sort of an expansion pack, but it's also, the one to be released in stores by a publisher. And then, but they also eventually released the Ultimate Doom, which is basically to package it in stores, but they, as a sort of, thing to add to it, they added a 4th episode with some of their new hires. And just after they developed Doom 2, they developed a 4th episode for it with, some community contributions to add to it, and that's what became the Ultimate Doom.
Which is actually what we're watching, I believe. Yep.
Yeah. Although, there isn't too much difference when it's other than the actual 4th episode and some bug fixes.
Oh, boy.
Wrong one.
I'm trying to think of any bugs I can think of about, because I know Doom has quite a few. It can't be this ambitious without a little bit of error.
Yeah. This is more on the Pokemon Red end of the spectrum than the Link to the Past end of the spectrum. But
Right,
still,
yeah.
most of the bugs are pretty in your favor or not that problematic.
It's too bad there's no item duplication glitch.
No missing, no enemy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you look at the Spectre Fuzz.
Yeah, yeah.
You look at it from the right angle and it duplicated your plasma rifle. That would be the best.
except that doesn't mean it's like, oh, I have 2 plasma rifles. Is this better than having 1?
Yes.
I
Doom
mean,
guy, Doom guy will have. He will come up with the hands needed to wield all of them.
nothing better than
Yeah, the
a
chainsaw is such a
rifle.
weird weapon because this is not really designed for melee combat, but there are a few enemies that it works well on, especially ones with very high hit stun. Enemies have a chance to go into a pain animation when they're hit, and each enemy has their own chance.
Yeah,
So
the,
some
I feel like
enemies are a
the
lot more
chainsaw
successful.
has an extremely high chance of triggering that, right?
Well,
just
it's
hits
mostly
a
just
lot.
because it hits so many times, yeah.
Yeah, just because of the pure amount of
Yeah.
attacks per second.
I believe shotgun, like multi-hit stuff like the shotgun blast, actually will trigger it, or check for it for every pellet. So,
Yeah.
like, if you shoot somebody with a shotgun, there's a pretty good chance they're going to flinch, but...
You're not going to keep it up.
yeah, you don't... Your afraid of fire is not that good, so... But, yeah,
Yeah,
the...
most of the enemies.
I was just...
gonna say most of the enemies.
Go for it.
Right. No, SK rock paper scissors. Just tell me.
Scissors.
I'm holding up.
Rock.
I'm holding up. Okay, I was holding up scissors, so you win. Go ahead, SK. What were you gonna say?
The pistol and the fist are the weapons you start with, and they are garbage. They are like... The one kind of downside, I would say, to the weapons is just that the pistol is just bad on purpose. Like, it doesn't have any real
It does
function.
the same damage as your fist. Which either
Yeah.
means the pistol sucks or you can punch really hard.
I feel like
Punches as strong as pistols fire.
given the choice between pistol and fist, I almost pick fist because like there's a certain demoralizing aspect of running up on a dude with a shotgun and just beating him down. Because like the pistol's so garbage.
Too many ranged. There's too many ranged enemies early on for me to do that, but
You don't do Tyson runs?
Fisto.
But yeah, that's something. I mean, my favorite thing in any FPS is the really good melee. I just like the contrast there, and this game does not have it. The chainsaw's decent.
well, it
but-
does, but we'll get to that later. The
Right.
chainsaw does have its use, though.
Yeah, I was gonna remark earlier about how like most of the enemies that have high hit stun chance are the enemies that are like melee attackers, like the pink demons and lost souls, and then there's a few other enemies that are randomly as good against, like cacodemons, are pretty high hit stun.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, that's
pink
the main
demons
niche for the
are
chain
best
gun
ones.
later on is head stunning the
Yeah.
cacodemons. It kind of falls off, but here in these the episode 1 environments where there's a lot more emphasis on shotgunners and other lower tier demons, the chain gun is better than the shotgun most of the time in the first episode.
Yeah. It helps that most of the enemies die really easily.
It's sort of interesting that the shotgunners are kind of scarier than the imps because you can dodge projectiles really easy in this
Yeah.
game once you know what you're doing, and especially if you have a modern control scheme set up.
As the guy takes a fucking fireball to the
Yeah.
face.
Yeah, you can kind of bait enemies into throwing stuff in a certain direction, unless you have the partial invisibility power up, and then
The partial invisibility power up decreases the enemy's aim randomly, which means enemies go from always targeting you directly to actually having varied attacks.
yeah.
It doesn't make much of a difference for hit scan, but for projectiles,
It's good on Hitman because
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
you can't dodge
Yeah.
a bullet, as the great philosopher Heavy said
Yeah.
once.
But projectiles, boy, instead of everybody going directly for you, it's just everywhere now. There's fireballs everywhere. I can't do anything. I believe the chain gun, because they use reuse code where they can, so I believe the chain gun is literally just the pistol, but fires faster.
Yeah.
I mean, why not?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
works.
Yeah, that's probably the most sensical one, but there are some weirder ones in the enemy roster.
Yeah, yeah.
Also, the chain gun, also the first shot is perfectly accurate. So if you just tap the fire button a lot with chain gun, you can get a lot of good shots in.
Yeah, I was gonna say because
Yeah,
That's
but
less
you
fun. That's less fun than holding it though.
And my hands already
You
hurt.
can use it as a
thinking
sniper
about that.
rifle. You do have to
Yeah.
like lower your fire rate. It's not terrible, but you're obviously not firing at chain gun speeds. But it's
A
pretty
sniper
good.
rifle
Also,
that
we just got
fires
the
at
night vision goggle, well, the light amplification goggles. So now everything looks ugly and the atmosphere is ruined. One of the lighting. Sectors with different lighting. That was the other big thing that this game
Yeah,
added.
lighting's great.
That was
in this
huge,
game.
and it's kind of huge for the just making the environments look like they do.
Yeah, lighting
And they
in this
really
game is still great.
they really knew it because they also they incorporate it into the levels sometimes. They have triggers that change the light levels in different sectors, all that kind of stuff. They knew what they had.
they created a lot of atmosphere with just lots of dark environments.
They knew how to make a barely lit corridor look terrifying.
Oh yeah, for sure.
There was playing this game for the first time. There really is nothing like you're in a dark corridor, you reach the end of the dark corridor, like this situation. A door opens up behind you. You hear the door open up behind you, and you're like, "Fuck! I have 10 health."
You're not going to be eaten by a Gru in this game, but you'll probably wish you were.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of oh shit moments.
It's a very excellent use of a lot of stock sound effects. It's like the sound of the enemies like roaming around, and their cries whenever they see you, and they or hear you, and they just start going aggro. It's very well done.
You think anyone plays Doom and they're like real proud? They're like, I made that sound, or my mom made that sound, or whoever.
I don't know if the camels are that proud of themselves now.
No, I'm pretty sure that the people who originally made the sounds for Doom back in the 50s are even still alive. But I do remember listening to the camels in Banjo thinking, I'm pretty sure this was in Doom.
These sounds are
Doom,
all over the place.
Yeah, the Doom door opening sound is the biggest one that people hear.
It's in like
And
every.
then there's one that's pretty generic and was probably used before and sense a lot more and isn't quite as thing, but it's one of the Doom 2 bosses sounds.
Oh, boss bit.
Not, yeah, the whoosh.
There's quite a few. Like one of the zombie roars I've heard in so many things, including Metal Slug 3. It's an incredible noise.
Yeah, they put a lot of thought into details too. Like they gave the lower tier enemies multiple sounds because you're going to see them so often. And they also have some code where if you shoot someone high up, like near a ledge, there is a random chance that they will defy physics and fall off the ledge towards you, just like in a Hollywood movie.
Oh. And I noticed that happening. I didn't realize that was an intended effect. I was always kind of wondering why that was going on.
Too bad they didn't put the Wilhelm scream in the game to go with it.
I'm surprised they didn't.
This room is probably one of the most chaotic rooms in the game when you hit the switch.
Yeah.
In
Yeah,
general,
this
this
is-
game is pretty easy by modern standards. They were
There's
definitely
enough room for
expecting more
episode
people
one.
to be using the default control scheme, and also they tested all the they tested all the levels separately. They didn't really test it as a campaign, so they kind of only tested it scrounging weapons from the level itself and not the carryover aspect.
Yeah, this room begs to have the BFG.
Oh man, you gotta get the registered version for that. Oh yeah, and this guy's a little too close to the wall. He's just inside it. Oops.
Oh, yeah.
See when that happens.
Are the plasma weapons in this episode at all?
No, no. They're the other weapons saved for.
It's a good incentive because they're pretty damn cool. So
So yeah. John Romero and the main crew push for the sort of rock-centric soundtrack that you hear in like EM11 and gives it its distinct flavor, but the more like menacing track that you would expect, they did do with some of those too, just because there are just some levels that need it. And then you have stuff like the PlayStation ports of the Doom, which went all in on that thing with the brand new soundtrack by Aubrey Hodges, which is just entirely atmospheric horror noises.
Man, speaking of Doom soundtracks, we made a mistake. We should have done the 32X version of this game.
this game was ported a lot. They tried.
Yeah.
Boy, how did they try.
Yeah, because this was not going to run on the SNES, except it did, but it wasn't going to run well, and they didn't try it themselves. The SNES version was actually some guy who mailed in and say, "Look what I did," and they're like, "Haha, that's funny. Let's release it." The SNS version is a absolutely technical marvel that's no fun to play whatsoever.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you, but get this away from me.
But yeah, this was definitely during that transitional time between the generations where you were like, since you can't run it on the SNES, you have to go with one of the systems. What are they? Well, there's the 3DO, there's the 32X.
It got an N64 port? Or
No, not even
sequel?
a port, a new game. Yeah, sequel, so to speak.
Doom
Which is
64
based-
actually really cool.
Yeah, it's basically kind of based a lot more on the PlayStation version, which again had a lot more of a horror vibe going on. Shoutouts to ARPA. I'm hearing you here. It combined Doom 2 and Doom 1, and it had a little weirdness where it... First of all, it added colored lights everywhere, because colored lights were the big in thing at the time.
Yeah.
And then the second, it added a few of the Doom 2 enemies to some of the Doom 1 levels, just because they could.
I get the color lights thing though. I have Christmas lights up all year round. In fact, I have some turned on right now.
Hell yeah. Then there was things like Heretic, which was they just used the. Do they just have access to the engine, or like?
The two id and Raven were very close, as in
Right.
had a close working relationship, so they had access to the engine as it was being developed. But that's another story for another time, honestly.
Yeah, sure.
Because there are like no less than 3 or 4 games built off this engine, which, like, given the history of, you know, Quake is the id Tech 2 engine, so to speak, retroactively named, and that had a bazillion games based off its engine.
Does the 3D Realm stuff have any correlation to this, or was it just like, hey, we can do Doom 2 also?
Not really, except for the fact that Tom Hall did, like, go to Apogee after, like, so Apogee was the one who published, who became 3D Realms.
Right.
They changed their name for branding reasons. They were the one who published Wolfenstein 3D, and then Tom Hall went to them after being ousted from id. I don't know how much he had to do with the build engines game, though he did build his own Wolfenstein 3D successor thingy, Rise of the Triad. But the build engine was Ken Silverman, who kind of made a game called Ken's Labyrinth, which he actually got published by Epic. That was good enough, even though he was kind of a young kid at the time. Then he made the Pope. Yeah. It's an exciting time of development. Oh yeah, and here we have the classic episode 1 ploy of releasing enemies in areas you've already been to after you grab a key. Just letting them wander around and surprise you organically.
I like that.
Yeah. Should say me and some of the folks here have played a lot of like custom maps made for like just literally some map packs for Doom where you just take the base game and just change the maps to new ones, and more so based on Doom 2 where it has the 32 maps, but boy, you can do a lot of stuff in this engine. It's kind of nuts. Like, just without modification, you can come up with some really crazy ideas. And I've made a few maps, made a few mods,
made a few block forts.
I did make a block fort for this. Because
has there ever been a game that you have not made block
Community
fort?
Chest 3, I believe.
Yeah, I've got one. I have 1.5 levels in Community Chest 3. I made my own, and I finished a level someone else was making.
And I remember it has very soap things in it.
Yeah, there's a very soap flavor. You can tell.
Yeah, my level is the only one in that one, I believe, that has a gravestone that says "Your Mom" on it.
I think it's the only one that has an Xbox in it.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, there's a lot of Doom Cute in that one.
To answer your question, Rick, no.
Yeah, any game that you actually get into, I feel like has a block fort of some kind in it now.
Anything that I can have a 3D editor in, yes. I don't know if I'm making block fort in Battle Craze, but if I could, I would.
You could have a background somewhere.
Stage. Yeah, and I love that entrance here with the giant pool of explosions.
Oh yeah, the barrels.
This is one of my favorite tracks in the whole game, I think.
Yeah. We gotta fight the Bruiser Brothers.
But yeah, this is the Phobos Deimos anomaly. And hello, surprise!
The boss of this level is one enemy type that you fight 2 of that you
eventually becomes a normal enemy side.
Yeah. Oh, that's one of the things in Doom 2, isn't it? Where the Hell Knights were just new enemies that were just... Or was that this game?
Yeah, we can get to that once we get to that, but yeah.
Yeah, this guy with less HP.
Literally the same enemy with different colored graphics and different HP value. Yeah. Otherwise, the same exact guy.
These guys are cool, though.
Yeah, the Barons of Hell.
And if you start this on Pistol Star, you don't get a rocket launcher. If you do have the rocket launcher, the real boss is all the Spectres who want to run in front of your rocket launcher and pick you up. Because self-rocket damage hurts in this game. Real bad.
Oh, yeah.
That's why you got a Tyson mode, dog.
Where does this take us?
Hey, it's the instant death pit.
Once you beat
Welcome.
the big addax, clear out the moon base, you're supposed to win, aren't you?
Isn't that like it triggers this once you die in that room?
Technically, you can't die, and it triggers this. The sector makes you unable to lose your last hit point, and it triggers when you're at below 10 or something.
Oh.
Ah, yeah, this is Phobios. The next episode is Deimos.
Yeah.
Very important. Because we're now on the shores of hell, and this is a pretty good map.
This map introduces us to the plasma rifle.
Every level in this episode has a plasma rifle.
Yeah.
Huh. They really want you to... They're like, hey, you gotta use a plasma rifle. Here it is.
Thanks for buying Doom.
And
Enjoy.
there's this inverted cross, which, stillily enough, if you stand inside it, you take damage.
It's a pain floor
Yeah.
inside there. Just
Yeah, it's like we've seen the radioactive stuff. That's like tagged to the sector, which is basically just a region, rather than like, and it doesn't have anything to do with the actual texture. So you can just make random things hurt you, and it leads to a lot of inconsistency, especially in custom WODs.
And not everyone has the same design philosophy, so you'll see, you have to kind of guess sometimes whenever stuff will hurt you and when it won't. Because, like, there's no, like, these square teleporters. Like, there's nothing saying that they have to be that shape or that they are teleporters. So, you can do, like, there's things where you walk over it and instead of it being a teleporter, it just opens up something or it does nothing.
I'm pretty sure I've seen that texture be damage floor.
Like, yeah, you're just allowed to do whatever you want, which, again, I just love the
Although,
internet.
funnily enough, the like at least if you're talking about the actual games themselves, no. You're talking about the actual games itself. The things you can do with walkover triggers are more limited than you appear, because it mostly has the things they used, and not necessarily some of the things that you would expect to be able to do. Like certain lines can only be a walkover trigger. Actions can only be a walkover trigger, or can only be like repeatable if they're also shootable or something like that.
There's like weirdly specific ones, like the I think there's one that just raises like sectors in a row, basically to create stairs.
Oh yeah, the stair builder. It's actually pretty cool.
Here he
We're
is.
seeing it right there. Well, barely on
There's-
screen.
There's a Cacodemon.
Yeah, there's a Cacodemon. The Cacodemon, they just stole art from a D&D manual and like just ripped the head off and made it a floating head enemy.
Oh right.
Sweet Christmas flying tomatoes.
Oh boy, the Doom comic.
That's the Doom story.
It is.
Only 6% items. Tisk tisk.
Oh yeah, this is my favorite level.
Hi, this is the most Tom Hall level in the game, as in it was the most unchanged from it. It's interestingly enough, the story that he came up with that was part of it actually didn't end in hell. It actually ended on the other side in Deimos, which is kind of weird after going through hell.
If anybody watching this has heard me mention Box Canyon, and was wondering what the hell that's about, here it is.
It's lovely. I always had a thing for
Unlike
mazes.
some of the stupid mazes before, this is what actually flows pretty well. It's not easy to get lost in, and there's lots of different ways to poke around.
Yeah, it's not the whole level either. There's a section
Yeah.
of the level that's not like this.
It is crammed with secrets, most of which were designed to take up the unused space in the map. there's also something very special about this area, which I'll get to. Right there, it's the Berserk Pack. It heals you to 100%, but it also makes your punches do like 20 times the damage, and it's now a viable weapon.
And yeah, you can actually gib enemies. There's a special state for weaker enemies, where if you do like 50% more than their...
If you bring them to negative their original health, basically.
Okay, yeah. Then yeah, they'll enter that state, which is just, they turn into fucking gore.
Yeah. Giblets,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, Jibs. Name.
I think it's
Sperm
pronounced
coined here.
It's pronounced Giblaze.
Yes.
Oh,
So
and this area is also very well suited to like just going ham with the Berserk Pack too. Like you should be punching these guys out is probably the best way to deal with them.
the power up lasts until the end of the level, but
Oh yeah, maybe this guy doesn't know that because it is very confusing. Because I think the instruction manual is wrong too. But like it lasts at the end of the level, even though the glow goes away after a while.
yeah, there's just a glow on the screen that appears for some reason. I don't know if they intended it to go away, but it doesn't. The power up, because the glow just disappears after like 10 seconds or something, but it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, technically the power up will run up out in about 3 years or something.
Oh,
Because it will eventually overflow and run her all the way back to 0.
The Y2K
Not
bug.
technically
Everyone's
0, but
power
the
runs
same
out.
thing. Yeah.
There we go.
there you
Fuck him up!
Yeah, very good against pickies. Surprisingly good if you're skilled against even strong enemies too, because it does a lot of damage. And if you're good, you can kind of weave in and out with with not that much risk.
Mhm.
There's definitely risk to be sure, but
Yeah, because
it doesn't use any animo.
it's fairly slow, the attack, so pain chance is not really gonna happen. You gotta kill or be killed.
Or hit and run mostly.
Well, yeah. I do like that the fist, because it's due to the simple programming, swinging your fist will make a noise equal to firing a rocket. Like, everything has the, in the sense that, like, whenever you fire a weapon, everybody in that, like, area can hear you. And then they'll activate if they hear you. So if you swing your fist, and if you're in the same area as a guy who's across town, he will wake up and start looking for your ass.
Yep, and that's another part of the game that is quite intricate and adds depth to the game, and is sort of a holdover from Wolfenstein 3D, which was based on a stealth game and was originally going to be closer to that stealth game. So that's why that game implements, people hearing sounds.
Hi, Lost Soul. Is that the first one we've seen?
Yep, they're also exclusive to this episode, or the non-shareware episodes.
Right.
This guy just walked through all that toxic for nothing.
And also, certain enemies are marked as ambush enemies, which means when they hear you, they are alerted, but they don't actually move, and that's so they can surprise you around corners. This area.
It's like
Yeah,
it's like flags for enemies, so it's not like enemy types. It's a certain enemies are just marked with like on the map are marked with that. So because I don't know if there's a lot of flags. I don't remember there being many.
That's a decent amount. I mean, the difficulty system, every actor, which is basically every sprite-based object, as well as a few things like teleports, destinations, has 3 flags that determine whether it appears on the 3 middle difficulties or not. The difference between the 3 middle difficulties is solely based on what objects were placed there, which means different enemy positions, but also different weapon and item pickup compositions, and sometimes even weirder things. Like, remember that dark room you said was the last place you got to? On the easier difficulties, there are actually light lamppost decorations in that room.
Oh!
And they go away on the harder difficulties. The easiest difficulty is like the easy difficulty, but also you get like half health and double ammo. And the other difficulty is nightmare difficulty. It was literally added. It was added to the game in an update, and it was literally they were reading posts about on the Usenet that people claiming, "Oh, this game is too easy." So they're like, "Haha, that'll show them," and they added it to the game as basically a joke.
It's like,
yeah, you choose it, and it actually says this isn't even remotely fair.
yes.
Like,
Because
it gives
it's
you a
not.
warning when you pick it.
The two main things is that enemies will respawn after a while, and enemies will fire extremely frequently.
Yeah, projectiles are faster.
Oh, and this weird, silly little puzzle, which we didn't do, walk over. Yeah, the ceiling has, if you look on the ceiling, there's a path, and you follow that path.
Look
Follow it
up.
out of order, and it doesn't quite work out, but yeah.
Doom Guy, you just have to look up at the ceiling.
Can't
Using
look
your
up.
actual
You're busy
real-life
looking at
eyes. Oh yeah, this is our second use of the donut, which there's an entire block of codes and a line def dedicated to the donut, which is when you hit a switch and this happens.
Wow.
Yeah, I know one of the things the source ports also added is little engine improvements, and a lot of them are just adding different triggers and stuff that are like variants you would expect to exist but don't.
Yeah. The boom extensions.
Yeah. Or boom, as you could pronounce it if you wanted to.
I don't want to.
Fair enough. I don't either.
Now, yeah, and we have a hallway full of silly crushing ceilings.
You can get crushed in this game, and you can actually, I don't know if you'll see it there, the corpses of enemies, if they get crushed, they get turned into smaller little giblet piles.
It also destroys weapon pickups. If like a shotgun guy drops a shotgun.
Oh, right. Oh,
Same
infighting.
thing with doors.
We gotta talk about infighting.
Yeah, it rules.
So, yeah, if an enemy hits another enemy, the only exception being if a enemy projectile hits another enemy of the same type, they will become aggro. I think if they activate the pain chance, it causes them to suddenly turn on that enemy
There's a
and
lot
just
of factors,
yeah, start fighting them.
One of the major factors is that if an enemy gains aggro on someone, there's a bit of time before they can aggro someone else.
Right.
And that includes them spotting you.
But yeah, especially for hit scans, if a hit scan enemy shoots another enemy of any kind, they'll get pissed off, and Lost Souls, as you saw, are pretty prone to that. Like, they're usually used in groups, but they will very often bump into each other, and just turn into a big fucking... It's like a big cartoon fight cloud of Lost Souls, just arguing with each other, and it's kind
very
of amazing.
intentional. Yeah, it's a very intentional feature, and it's also very unique to this game, as opposed to, games made after all the FPS genre after it. Mainly because it's an idea that only kind of works with demonic hordes. Even the previous game, Wolfenstein, you wouldn't expect Nazis to just start mowing each other down because somebody had bad aim.
No, I'm Hitler's favorite. Fuck you.
We have a traitor.
Yeah, it's yeah. Also, in this, it's not only cool and funny, but it's also very strategically useful. It can save you a ton of ammo at some levels.
It is.
Ah, yes. Here we have our first use of the loud-ass blue diamond weapon.
Yeah. There's a lot of weapon mods, which are wrong, by the way, who quieten the sound of this weapon.
Weak. They're weak.
Yeah.
A lot of these weapon models are just digitized scans of toys, especially the more, sci-fi ones.
Yeah, it's like if you take a toy shotgun and you file off the orange cap, it becomes real.
I mean, level design's happening.
Yeah, that's the price.
Thank
of
God
race
you have a
sometimes.
map.
Yeah. Well, the map is best if you use it.
Oh yeah, speaking of anything can be a pain for these things, like this
Yeah.
is a pain for those things. I guess the idea is it's like electrical shocks.
You start to learn pretty quickly, like, what map designers want you to think looks painful. It's like, this is glowing, and it looks kind of weird, and it's like a big river of pain.
The special
Usually you just
sauce
find
of
out
this
on
game is the almost perfect weapon balance. All of the weapons have a niche and a role. Like, the rocket launcher you cannot use in close quarters, and it's best for groups. Plasma is the slice down, it's the more rare weapon type, and it slices down enemies pretty good. Shotgun's your workhorse. Chain gun's only really best against the smaller enemies and stuff like the Caco demons.
It's also your sniper rifle.
Not something that we use too much, but
Your shotgun is also a fairly tight spread, too. Like, it's not even that ineffective in, like, the mid-range.
It's like a real shotgun. Like an actual fucking shotgun.
Yeah, yeah. Video game shotguns are a little more, we have to make this, balance out with other weapons, so you can't just use it from across the room, but...
I'll be right back.
so they made the decision to use the intermission music for this level, which
Certainly was a decision.
in general, episode 2 and 3 are mostly done by Sandy Peterson and mostly done kind of in a very short time. And the quality is uneven, to say the least.
Makes me wonder, actually, how, textures
There's
like
this fucking room.
like this room, like, were the textures just sort of created at the start and then maps were made around it, or did they actually like go, oh, I
imagine they started with a base of textures and then added more if they needed them.
right, like,
Yeah, I gotta think that there's like a folder full of textures that they thought were cool, like Oregon textures.
yeah,
And
good
then
old fire
eventually,
blue.
yeah, exactly. And then they're just like, feels like it
Oh
could
yeah,
be
by
an
the way, we
Oregon
just got a
form.
secret there, but for stepping on that door. Yeah, this room, it's like... The best thing I can think of, it's supposed to be like an undulating flesh floor that just kind of waves around, but there's no curves, so it just becomes that. That's my idea, anyway. Doom, you have to be interpretive, and yet it presents its own distinct flair, even in this episode, which is the corrupted tech base on Deimos. Even this has its own kind of personality, even though it's kind of a mixture between the two other themes of regular tech base and Hell.
That's a hell of a place to use a rocket launcher. What the fuck?
Yeah, that's the problem with rocket launcher in this game is auto aim. It does not care if there is a floor in between you and them.
This is going to be a weird question, but Yoshi, did this engine by itself support Voodoo Dolls, or did it actually require a source port?
It's supported Voodoo Dolls, however, they were much more limited in their applications until Boom added conveyor belts to put them on.
Gotcha, right, okay. So if you put in a more than one player spawn, like a player one spawn, then it would create extra players that just weren't controlled by anybody, and if you shot them or they took damage, then it would reflect onto your player, so they got the name Voodoo Dolls. They were useful because they would trigger floor...
Player line, yeah, they're trigger things like player
line def, so like you would... Yeah, like, again, like because of Boom with the conveyor belts, you would just put them on, like, conveyors and then have the wall raise up so that it would be able to move somewhere and then start triggering stuff. Basically, like, a timer, essentially. It's like a makeshift timer.
And to do, like, silly Boolean logic things.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, Pink. He interrupted the fight.
Yeah, you do not interrupt
It
infighting.
forever. It's a long play.
You gotta let the fights play out. You gotta see who wins.
The Kako Demon had it. He had too much health left over. That fucking Pinky barely got touched and he fucking dropped.
That Pinky was really plucky, though. Pinky could have done it.
Can we talk about the ouch face?
So yeah, remember how I said this game is kind of buggy? There's supposed to be a space, specific, like, well, what's the Stratusbar face down there, taken from Wolfenstein 3D. It's one of the most iconic elements of the game. And it also, like, looks right or left when you get hit from the right or left, so it has some gameplay purposes as well. But there's also the ouch face, which is supposed to happen when you take 20 or more damage in a single hit. It just goes, ah! Or more exaggerated pain animation. But they mixed up the sign, so it happens when you get hit and somehow on the same frame heal 20 or more damage.
And I believe that's possible if you take damage and grab like a Berserk Pack or a Soul Sphere, maybe.
Yeah.
At the same time, so it can happen, but it's incredibly rare. But yeah, it's funny that there is a unique pain animation for healing while taking damage.
There's also a special message, picked up a med kit you really need, that doesn't ever appear because it checks to see you if you're below 25% health after healing you.
Right.
Healing you by 25%.
Yeah.
And yeah, the classic invisibility is all sorts of frame buffer magic. It's like impossible to fully replicate if you use a OpenGL renderer like some ports do. But you can get pretty close nowadays with crazy shaders and stuff. But it's a lot of like just taking pixels and putting them on other pixels. Get this very distinct wavy fuzz effect.
Yeah, it looks cool.
I do remember one of the reasons I preferred software renders over hardware renders is because they do a better job with this effect, both for the player and for the specters.
Well, I mean, GZ Doom's default is much more terrible because a lot of the defaults are made for really old computers back before shaders were a thing. There's a much better default option for fuzz effect in GZ Doom nowadays.
The software one, it does have this effect of if they hack in like mouse look onto Doom and you're using a software renderer, everything distorts when you look up and down, and it's kind of sickening.
Yeah, there are drawbacks.
This
course,
level is a
mine's
pretty
sports
good,
sport.
creepy level. I really like it.
Yeah. I was just gonna say my source port knowledge is about like 15 years outdated at this point.
Yeah, I still refer to like the source port that we play as Skull Tag, and it's like that hasn't been a thing for a good while.
Yeah.
You know they changed to Xandronum. Is that still the name of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or some kind of developer drama or something?
Yep.
I don't remember.
I want it.
Right. Yeah, you have to use that skull, which is the only time they do something like that in the entire both games, and it isn't something that there's no concept of using an object. They just have an invisible switch line there that you trigger when you try to use the skull. Speaking of features cut from modern FPSs, the use key and using doors constantly with a button.
I guess so, yeah. I never thought about that. Played so much Doom in my life, I just kind of thought that was still a thing, but no, that's just Doom.
The changes from Doom to Ultimate Doom. I think this room wasn't this room the swastika room.
Nah, that was
There's
in
There's
that was
some
in
room.
Doom
I think
2,
it.
I think. Or I'm
I
not
feel like
sure.
it was this. I think this room was shaped like a swastika in Doom
No,
original.
it was
release.
a smaller room, and it was a swastika that lowered, and it turned into like a sort of altar. It still looks like a shape. Like
Yeah.
you're thinking of the right texture on the walls, I think.
Yeah, I might have it confused with another room.
Either way, yeah, that was,
It was either in Doom 2 or in Episode 1.
point being, they changed it.
Well, I mean, they were pretty, they were so proud of their upcoming game that they put a swastika in, the Commander Keen to advertise it, which, is like,
right.
hold on. Nobody else knows what the fuck you're talking about.
I could see why what they were thinking, but, don't do that.
At least there wasn't social media back then. Music does a lot of good work on this level during the downtime.
As is one of the more distinctive tracks.
I feel like I've lost perspective on the music that I'm like, I can't even figure out if this is MIDI or not.
This is MIDI. This seems to be general MIDI, Windows MIDI, instead of like the OPL emulation.
Right.
Which general MIDI was supported by the original executable. It wasn't in common. It was just beginning to be released. Things that were capable of doing it. The point is that it sounds very different depending on your particular brand of hardware. Although nowadays you're almost always going to be hearing the general Windows MIDI wavetable that was began in Windows 95, I think, and is still in there today.
No, like the map packs and stuff, like you can just replace the MIDI music, and a lot of people do, but a lot of them, especially early ones, just use Doom and Doom 2's music. So you hear a lot of these tracks regardless of what you're playing.
And now the Doom community has a bunch of basically MIDI virtuosos, which is like kind of weird. Very
Right.
specific. Oh, come on, you're missing the point of this room. The point of this room is to lure him over here.
Yeah.
And then crush him. Although he takes a few times to get crushed. He's pretty tanky. Enemies have a lot more HP than you.
The crushers like slow down when they're like crushing something, right?
It depends on the crusher. Some of them are fast, some of them are slow. The slow ones, if they get you, you're dead. You're dead. They will do that much damage. While the fast ones, like the ones we've seen so far, are fast ones, and they're only fast or slow once they start crushing. They're the same speed beforehand. I love Pinky's trying to get a melee hit on something never really working out.
Yeah, the flying enemies don't tend to stop ever, so getting a melee strike on them is fairly difficult.
Well, it's easy for you because you can track them as you punch.
Oh, well, sure. Yeah.
You're trapped in this room forever. Game over.
No! Welcome to the Skull Zone. Population Skull.
Heard a lot of this from playing it on AP relatively recently. I don't have as much experience with Doom 1. I messed around with Doom 2 a fair bit, but like past episode 1, my experience with this game is fairly limited.
I know all of these levels like the back of my fucking hand. It's kind of crazy. There's a lot of pretty tricksy stuff, especially if you're going for secrets.
Yeah.
Sort of the borderline between kind of archaic and just okay enough to add interest. Did we mention that Barons of Hell have too much health? 'Cause they do.
Yeah.
2,000.
And they're kind of just imps. They hit harder. But they're just as slow and their projectiles are just as easy. That's the biggest weakness with Doom 1, is that it kind of is just a lot of imps. And a lot of the harder enemies, like the higher tier enemies, are also just slower and more cumbersome. And
Doom
easy
2
to
did a
dodge.
lot in adding mid-tier enemies mostly.
Yeah.
That is
I will say
the big
though,
reason
Baron of
Doom
Hell.
2 is worthwhile.
I will say about Baron of Hell though, in its favor, is that its death sound is really good.
Yes. The top tier is definitely Cacodemon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cacodemon. God tier.
Yeah, there's nothing in here. That's because you teleport there in another area. But, like, you could just end up exploring it and, like, just making these stairs one at a time, and then with switches, and then it's like, oh, no.
Face texture.
Some of these textures, man.
Yeah, they really had fun with their interpretation of hell. Oh yeah, this one's real confusing because you just have to jump into the water and into the teleport, and then a path will raise up.
Yeah.
Water.
Blood.
Don't you dare try to apply your Earth logic to the workings of demons.
Looking at the guide.
Yeah.
What's Mr. Brady got to say about this?
To be fair, this is kind of stupid.
I always forget which things were introduced in Doom 2 and which ones are actually in the original. I actually thought the Berserk Pack was Doom 2. I forgot that it's always been there.
Yeah. Like, outside of enemies, it's basically just the Super Shotgun and the Mega Sphere.
Right,
And some, extra line deaths, but...
Right, yeah.
Oh, and yeah, the Soul Sphere is even weirder. You have to enter this exit room, and it'll start appearing the path to it, which is real fun.
They love putting dudes in the exit rooms, though. I love when you get, like, groups of demons. Like, you just see them in a place where they can't reach you, and they're just kind of running around, like, just scrambling, and just like, well, there they are. They're having fun.
Demon closets.
I do refer
I
to
mean,
them
they
by...
could technically walk to you, but, like, they'd have to navigate this turnaround. They're not smart enough for that.
No. I do refer to them by their internal names, usually, which it's not always what they're actually called, and sometimes are a little vague, like, this guy's just demon. Which, I mean, they're all demons. Some of them are zombies, but they're mostly just demons, so that guy being demon
That's
is...
not even their eternal name, that's their actual name.
Oh, right, okay.
Pinky is just a nickname.
Right, because, demon is, again, a little vague. Those guys are called imps. I call them Doom Imps because internally in Sourceport stuff, they're referred to as Doom Imps because there are imps in other games in the Doom engine.
Yeah. Yeah, Hexen, I think, has an imp.
Yeah.
Actually, Heretic, I think, but whatevs.
Heretic has, yeah, it is Heretic. I think Hexen has the Afrit,
That's
which is
right.
imp-like.
Nice
Oh,
paint
damage
floor.
floor.
Oh yeah, the evil head that hurts you.
Yeah.
And there's also eventually they use that design for the torch file in Doom 2. Modified a bit. It's kind of like, I kind of give it short shrift because I can't really explain it very well, but like, it's kind of crazy what a technical genius Carmack was.
No kidding.
How pulled off all this crap. After first pulling off all the crap to create scrolling in a DOS, which was kind of the holy grail at the point. For a platform, a platformer that actually scrolled instead of having janky scrolling or flip screen platforming. Because systems like the NES, which had smooth scrolling, they had hardware dedicated to that, to scrolling things.
We just got done talking about an NES game that Not the one that we looked at, but one of them didn't have scrolling in it. That's kind of funny.
Yeah, and the PC port of that did have scrolling a lot earlier, but it's also an adventure game, so frame rate isn't a huge concern.
Right, of course. I do love the shotgun guy. That is his name. He is Shotgun Guy.
Are they called? I think that's their. Is that their name and Sergeant is the file name, or is it the other way around?
Sergeant is the file name.
Sarge is the I think it's the sprite name.
Yes, right
Yeah.
name, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
And the sounds, yeah. I know, because the internal names are, like, kind of weird for, like, the sprites and stuff, because I know the imps are referred to as, like, Trooper? Like, you have TRO.
Yeah, a lot of sort of leftovers from really early on.
Yeah. I believe, yeah, the zombie men are possessed, like POS. And then, yeah, shotgun's just as POS. Stuff like kind of makes sense, but yeah, the Trooper is always kind of stuck out to me as kind of weird.
Sometimes internal names in games are just weird. Like, did you know that in Pos Saga Turbo, the internal name of Spedginald is Spat?
Also, I'm pretty sure the demons are named Sarge in their sprite files.
They're also named Spat.
Am I forgetting something? Did I leave my hat?
Mr. Brady, help
Oh,
me.
a secret exit. I'm forgetting that.
That exit doesn't
think
look cool enough.
Fuck this exit.
There's no monster in here. It must be a fake exit.
Where am I again? This guy's sundowning.
Nah, it's kind of complicated to get through this area, though. Or rather, there's a lot of different areas.
Watch his feet melt. The rage cage.
We gotta kill this guy.
Do you not have? It's like
You're doing him a
fire,
favor.
Lower right, we have one rocket.
fire one rocket into the side of it first.
It does a lot
If
of
I were
damage.
trapped in here, If I were trapped in here, I want someone to kill me too.
Boy needs some ammo.
So was deathmatch built into this, or was it like another like modification?
No. This was deathmatch. This was the spawn of deathmatch, and like the rules of deathmatch. Like the later versions actually added the new deathmatch, Deathmatch 2.0, which changed how pickups work and stuff to be more like modern. The big thing, however, is that there weren't any deathmatch maps. You just play deathmatch on campaign levels.
Right. I know poking around the files, all these have like deathmatch objects and flags and stuff like that.
And it also has cooperative play too.
Right, yeah.
It's funny because they also like had to update it because TCP/IP was not a thing when the first versions of Doom were accounted. The basic internet protocol did not yet exist.
It was all LAN, baby.
Now it's something also IPX or whatever.
Right. Man, the importance of fucking stereo sound like a headset for games like these, because there was a bit earlier where he's just like, oh, there's definitely a guy right next to your left. It's like you need that sound in order to be able to tell what's going on around you.
And of course, the PC was such a moving market that there's a whole things. There's PC speaker versions of all the sound effects.
Oh, right. Oh, God.
It's kind of funny to play that way.
Probably not as funny as all of the sound effects being replaced with MIDIs.
Just play Doom in mono.
No.
It'll be fine.
I
We'll
don't
make a
wanna-
Doom Force board in mono. That's a programmer joke.
Mhm. I
There's-
use mono sometimes to run things on Linux.
Doom is also able to run on anything. That's the prevailing joke
Yeah.
for the last decade or so. And it's
Yeah.
absolutely true.
Mostly,
Yeah, runs
mostly the first part of the reputation came from all those fucking ports to all those fucking consoles, and then a few things like Game Boy Advance later on. But then
Now
there's
it's like they
also the
port-
technology just advancing, where everything has a computer in it.
Do you think that we could get Doom to run in Pausaka?
Yes.
Now that's the ultimate update. When we stop caring about copyright.
I would imagine there's several JavaScript-based Doom source ports. I could probably literally just plunk one into the game and get it working without.
Hey, you can even respect copyright and just have it auto-detect the Steam directory where the Doom files are stored.
I mean, yeah, there's clearly a way to do it that way where you just have it open the relevant file that's already somewhere on your computer.
Yeah. Most modern source ports will just, if they don't find the WAD in their own directory, they will look at Steam at steam.com/common/Doom.
You should replace the soccer video with that. He just opens up
I-
fucking Doom and just starts playing it.
I mean, I could throw open a file prompt.
Yeah.
Oh
It's
man,
an
I remember
HTML5
this
game, but
house.
it's running in-
I remember your old ass Image Fest, and this house was like a bunch of demons who you were the telemarketer knocking on their door.
Oh man, that's man. I need to make that Image Fest accessible again.
Yeah, but you should, because I was thinking about that the other day, where I wanted to watch that. I wanted to see that Image Fest, and I have no way to look at it anymore.
I think of it every single time that I see someone chainsawing a demon. I immediately just think of blah 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 blah.
I every time I play this game, I play Spot the Spectre.
Oh, yes.
All
of
right.
course.
Oh, we're going to the secret level of this episode. I wonder what's going to be. It's a Fortress of Mystery.
This is the hell of a fortress.
Well, it's a
Yeah.
cave, if anything.
The classic hub and spokes level design. I've heard of this.
Mystery is where are all the fucking rockets?
Yeah. Why am I here? Where's the door I came
Mystery
in? Why
is
can't I
there's the
leave?
door.
Best song, by the way.
This is not what the newspaper ad told me would be here.
Second best song, which is lovingly titled Untitled.
Please don't try to kill all the demons in here. You don't even have enough ammo for that. Because
He doesn't
in
have
the
enough
next
health for
room,
that.
and the whole point of this fucking level,
Can't you get these guys to fight each other?
Yeah.
there's another room. There are 2 rooms in this goddamn map, and the second room has a bunch of Kako demons, and the intended thing is to make them infight each other.
Yeah, I feel like I remember these guys beating the shit out of each other
It
while I
is
hid in
the
a closet.
simplest, dumbest level. It's kind of stupid to put it in here, but it is also the level that Sandy Peterson used to demonstrate that it was that infighting was a concept that they should use in their level design, and so that's why it ended up in the game.
So if I remember my funny trivia correctly, I believe that there is... So the way, like, infighting happens is, you know, like the projectile or whatever attack will have the shooter, like, listed on it. And then, you know, if you get hit by something, then you get aggroed onto the person who created it. The barrel, I believe, its explosion will carry over that property. And so there is, I believe, a rare chance that if an enemy shoots a barrel, makes it blow up, and then takes damage from that barrel, it will then become aggroed onto itself and then melee itself to death.
That was actually a bug that was fixed in 1.66, more
Right.
common version. It was from 1.4, but yeah.
That would be a
You
bug
can
we
still
would
use
never
the bug
fix.
to get the two barons to infight each other, which allows you to complete the boss level of Episode 1 Pacifist.
There is no point to fixing that bug. That bug is perfect the way it is. There is such a thing as divine intervention when it comes to game making.
Actually, I do believe I beat a boss in Paz Saga by having it kick its own ass, so...
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
There were self
Okay, and
counters.
here
in
we
that
have
game
the
that were
last part of the
potentially
level, which confused the hell out of me for the longest time. Well, eventually when this guy gets to it. This person gets to it.
He is putting the
So
long
welcome
game
to... Oh look, it's the blue key! Oh look, it's the red key! Look, it's the yellow key! Look, it's the exit. Now that seems insane and stupid, and it kind of is, but its purpose is to prevent you from running to the exit immediately. Like, if you try to do that while under enemy fire, you're going to be under enemy fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like, much later WADs, like, custom WADs would often include some sort of mechanism to prevent you from running past an encounter. More, you know, refined versions of that, and that's just kind of an early version of that design.
It was definitely like a dev room. That was not a normal level. That was
Shoutouts to the first key that they picked up. One of the textures scrolled with the door. There's just a lot of moving parts with that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
Oh my
lower
God.
unpegged versus upper unpegged.
Yeah. There's also armor. The green armor reduces your damage by a third, I believe.
Yeah, a third. Yeah, a third of it goes to the armor instead of your health.
And then blue armor reduce it by half. You can't pick up armor unless... Like, you can't pick up a green armor unless you have less than 100. Blue armor will take you to 200. And if I remember correctly, it's like, yeah, if you do that, it downgrades. Which is...
The protection value. And
Yeah.
there's no way to see what it is,
Right, yeah.
depending on the situation. Sometimes you don't want to pick up the green armor.
You also have 1% health and 1% armor pickups, but they use them pretty rarely from what I remember.
They're around. They're scattered around. They're basically a last-minute conversion of the treasure pickups, which treasure and score was a thing in Wolfenstein 3D. Which is why this has an items pickup, which is mostly the health bonuses, but it also some things like soul spheres and such.
Try and shoot tactic. Try to use it. If that doesn't work, try shooting it.
Yes, the two ways to interact with things. Oomph and bullets.
Substitute your fist for bullets if you're able to get close enough.
Yeah.
That was the
Okay.
wrong time to use that.
Pinkies are very good at suddenly running in front of you.
You need to know where the enemies are, dog. We're gonna call that a tactical misplay.
Yeah.
Is there actually different AI for the demons versus enemies with projectiles? Because I feel like the demons are a lot more aggressive, but I don't.
Not
They don't have guns.
Not completely, but they the fact that they are melee only does result in different behaviors, but it's not like it's just because they only have a melee attack.
Right. Okay. Because I don't remember there being different, like it's like the action chase thing. I just remember that being the one thing.
Yeah. Yeah, so like the demons can feel more aggressive because they have a high movement speed, and B it's you are always going to attack if you're in melee range, whereas you're not always going to attack if you're in gun range or projectile range.
Oh, right, sure.
Which is one of the things Nightmare removes, is that they like fire all the time. Although that exposes kind of why it's there in the first place, because they kind of turn into turrets.
Right.
Pop the Spectre.
Yeah. He's not spotting it.
It's actually
Pull out that rocket launcher, dog. You'll solve that problem.
the demons are aggressive because of that, but it's also a big weakness because you can. There are certain enemies, including one we'll see in another game, that yeah, you just pop in front of them, make them melee attack you, and then just back away from them, and so you can kind of just make them useless.
It's
if you have
actually
room to
only the
maneuver.
demon and that one other enemy. This demon, like, yeah, his attack range is short and slow, and you can bait it and move back. Otherwise,
Oh, because the
All
imp, I
the-
believe, his attack is just like he attacks, and if you're in melee range, it's melee, but if you're not, it becomes a projectile.
yeah, at the very instant it ends, the animation ends, and the actual, projectile would be fired. That's the same for all others except for one enemy for the thing, which has a special exception as well for reasons.
Oh yeah, invisibility.
Closet.
Yeah, invisibility does actually make them not react to seeing you. I forgot about that.
No, that's entirely a invention of Doom.
Oh really? Okay.
Yep.
So it actually sucks even more.
Yeah, the earlier kind of versions of Z-Doom were a bit more about keeping pace with the modern FPSs of the time. Made a lot of more random changes like that, like making the light amplification into a night vision goggle thing,
Oh.
which was the original plan for it too, but like it just kind of looks weird. So. Oh man, there should
Rare
be no
tech.
people in here.
Yeah, rare texture. Yeah.
There's a guy right around the corner. Better pull out my rocket launcher.
No monster. It's fake.
But yeah, this room has a very nasty rusher that starts above you as you enter it, and if you try to backpedal to the enemies, you will die. It's pretty nasty.
Something kind of weird, and correct me if I'm wrong on this. I guess I'm wrong on that. Never mind. I thought that I remember the weapons were just there for like just getting the weapon, and that you couldn't pick them up for ammo. But
No, you can't.
okay, that might be like a multiplayer thing for one of those sports.
That is one of the deathmatch version 2.0 thing, is turning them into things you can't pick up all the time, but they also don't go away when you pick them up. which
being
they
frustrated
respawn.
when you
but-
forget to enable that.
So now, like, shotgun guys in a Doom 2 enemy will drop the entire weapon, even though its main purpose is going to be for ammo, because you probably don't need a shotgun at that point.
Although they are often your primary means of accessing a shotgun and a chain gun.
Right.
Oh yeah, this room, which when you enter it, it's a yellow key door on the other side, so you're going to have to get this yellow key. Wow. That was a hard thing to do, of course.
I mostly remember that for causing
Yeah.
problems with the Archipelago.
Getting your ass beat. Get out of that corner, dipshit.
I mean, they're...
I mean, it's probably safer there with the partial invisibility going on.
Oh man.
I shake my head every time they kill an enemy that's infighting with another enemy. Like, come on.
Yeah, there's. No,
Oh yeah, the fake exit. It's a great.
nothing like a
great-
classic fake exit.
Yeah.
They definitely had already played around with fake exits in Wolfenstein 3D, but obviously the potential of this engine allows for a much more interesting, neat one.
Welcome to the sausage zone.
And you can see the real exit at the
Population,
beginning, so when you see this exit, you're like, there is a chance for you to go,
It's not damage floor this time.
I don't think any of the Doom games ever used this for damage floor, the intestines texture.
We'll see.
Maybe they don't. I don't know. It looks like
Yeah,
damage
I
floor.
could be
You should
totally
you
wrong.
should get Luigi physics if you're on intestines. Just like slip around and
Yeah.
shit.
It will probably complicate it enough without introducing friction surfaces.
Especially at the Doom speed.
I think Hexen had it.
Yes.
Heretic added it, yes. Oh no, I think Hexen added the friction. Heretic added some similar thing. but not-
The rocket does good damage, and then there's an explosion afterwards, so it hits twice, essentially.
Help! I'm stuck inside my friend.
Yeah, the double enemies in there. If an enemy ends up inside another enemy in a Doom engine or inside a wall, it is just frozen in place. It can still attack if you're close enough, but
It can melee you, yeah. I don't think it can.
yeah, melee.
I don't think it can
Yeah,
fire.
projectile.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go.
That's not the most reliable thing, but it often works out, okay?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
the
the
most
Caco Demon
satisfying.
is basically 90% likely to get stunned with that. That one's not from the code or anything. That's just kind of my estimate.
Yeah, they get a hit in every now and then.
Yeah, and it fucking hurts.
Oh, I wanted to talk about damage randomization. It's, I believe, like the numbers are actually fairly small, but then they get randomized by, like, multiplied by a certain number between 1 and 8, I think, for projectiles. So, Baron projectiles something like 8 damage, So it's like, oh, this can do 8 or 64% based on just RNG.
Yeah, the damage swing is kind of out there.
Yeah, like you can tell because your screen will turn more red if you take more damage, basically. So even from that alone, you can kind of look at that and go like, whenever an imp hits you, could be like, oh, I took, the minimal damage, or I just got fucking rocked.
This game's
Now we're
RNG is funny,
invincible.
if I recall correctly. Like it's a hard-coded series of zeros, ones, and twos or something.
It's a table of 255 values that is cycled through. That was
Yeah, that's
provided
what I
by a
meant,
random number generator earlier. So there's a lot of curiosity stuff.
Yeah.
It's definitely an approach shared with other very bare metal games, like I believe Final Fantasy 1 also uses a lookup table. But other games of this era and before do actually use actual proper random number generators too. Yeah, this level is kind of just a bit rooms I strung together.
Yeah. There's no real coherency, is there?
Nah, like I said, a lot of these were made quick, and it can show in the episodes 2 and 3. Oh, and a thing blocked us behind us. That's why we're backed in this corner, which is now actually a corner.
Oh, the rare hit.
You got nibbled.
Sometimes life doesn't go your way.
Yeah. Well, you know what they say, when life gives you nibbles, make nibble-aid.
Sweet.
I don't know what that tastes
Ready
like.
ready to punch. Where? Anybody here?
Yeah, sometimes they'd like to price items where if you move through aggressively, you get rewarded.
It's,
Oh yeah, this is how you do it.
This is absolutely what you do whenever you're invincible with Berserk.
punch the fuck out of them.
This is true Doom comic energy right here.
Yeah.
This and rocket punching. You just face first rockets.
Oh, yeah. I guess I could talk about this. You can, like, unless this is also an invention of SourcePort, teleport while you're dead.
Oh no, it's not a source port invention. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can do that.
So, like, you can get yourself blown up by a rocket and then use your trajectory to move yourself to a teleporter. And if you do that into one of those areas that triggers, like, the end of the episode while you're, supposed to die or whatever, it'll just, you'll actually succeed despite being dead.
You can beat the level while dead, which the later levels go from exit switches to like walk over exits, and so you can like
Oh, right.
blow your way across those lines to like save the frames.
Just like in F-Zero.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think after episode 2, I'm gonna get dinner.
Yeah, I'm starting to get hungry.
Can do that. So what map are we on? I don't even know.
We're in like 5 or 6. I mean, there's so much to talk about. We could talk about the fucking congressional hearings. This game was a touchstone in, violence in video games. And
Right.
large credit eventually to the creation of ERSP.
Yeah, this
Along
game
with
and
Mortal Kombat and a random game that's only on there probably because Nintendo put it in someone's ear just to make Sega look bad.
Of course, the real Satanism wouldn't start until Pokemon came out later that decade.
I also heard that in this game called Guilty Gear, you can kill your friends guilt-free, which is... oh my god. A lawless wasteland the 90s were.
Yeah, they call it that because the gear takes on all the guilt.
That's
They,
actually true.
People don't kill people. The gear kills people. Yeah, I'm always a fan of when elderly people, who are usually not even who are usually just people who are married into politicians, who got voted in, get to tell me what video games and movies and TV I can watch. Always glad.
To be honest, like if you look at the marketing material for like Mortal Kombat specifically, they marketed that at kids.
Wow, yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
I mean, the die had been cast. You know.
There's a that's way bigger subject than we can ever talk about here. I just find everything fascinating and like to talk about things.
Sure.
Yeah, I also don't really particularly care about the children. I don't give a fuck. That seems like something people who have children should have more of a thought process on than me.
I guess if restrictions were that loose back then, though, it was inevitable. You know, it just happened to be this game where people were
Well,
like,
I mean, there was far
Well,
worse things kids
Two
could
games
see.
in a row, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean, PC is definitely a different beast entirely.
Yeah, the moment the internet happened, children were fucked. That was it. Man. Google, how long did it take for Google to make a safe search?
It was too
Because,
late.
like, it was far too late.
Yeah, there's real bad websites kids were on. There's one called like starman.com or something like that about
Shit.
Earthbound.
I went to-
I remember typing in the wrong one once.
Enisland.
Yeah, it's Penisland.
I do remember that.
Notes.com.
Very, very young me was like, I'm just gonna type random things into the URL bar and see what happens. And, like, names and stuff, and it's just like, that didn't end well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember.
I remember
My
as a kid, I dialed in random 1-800 numbers. I'm looking back on it, like once, just like 1-800 Garfield, and then
So you're the bastard calling about my car warranty.
I'm pretty certain I called a porn thing, didn't realize it.
I'm sure your parents did when the fucking bill came in.
Oh God, I might have caused something.
Yeah, I remember calling a certain Canadian friend of ours for an hour once, and turns out Canadian calls were not allowed on our phone line, and my dad's like, what the fuck is this
Oh no,
$70
Long
call
distance.
about, buddy? And I was just like, what are you fucking talking about? We live, half an hour from Canada. Like, we could drive to the guy's house.
Remember
He's
when
like,
long
that's-
distance calls cost money?
Yeah.
Yeah, what the fuck was that shit? It's not like there was some lady in a room somewhere plugging a cord into a box to connect us anymore. Even back then.
Like the literal monster closet there. Just like, here's a Cacodemon from
Yeah.
Hellworld. He's here to say hello.
Yeah, just a switch. The exit switch, but in front of it is another switch that just puts a Cacodemon on you. Trap-based gameplay was a big part of this game.
It's such a simple effect, but I just really like the dark room with like that one little like cabinet with a fiery texture that's all lit up. It just looks really cool.
Yeah. Got to hit the switch again, and it became a different switch.
I'm a big fan of the prank-based gameplay that's in Doom.
Check the guide.
Yeah, we're pay your penance to fucking Dr. Brady and his guide.
I liked it though. I was just imagining this person looking at it being like, "Oh, hit it again? Why?"
And the Tower of Babel, which actually gets built on the intermission screen as you play through the episode.
I don't think I ever noticed that.
Yeah, I never even paid attention to that.
Oh, this is the last level.
This is the boss level.
I know who's out
Look at all
there.
those rockets. I like how they start with like a bunch of Baron Walsh just fucking murdered on the wall.
Here's your friend.
Oh god!
He's coming in.
I'd like to talk to you about your car
So,
insurance.
here we have one of the most famous bosses in history, just waltzing in the door. It's kind of a miracle this boss turned out as good as it did, because a lot of FPS's bosses in general, certainly the other boss in this game, are kind of weird
Cluster.
and janky and don't work very well.
How do you kill this guy again?
Shoot him.
Yeah, you have to shoot him. Eventually he'll die, so if you shoot at him until that occurs,
Yep,
Ah, okay.
you did it.
as was
But
demonstrated.
yeah, he shoots rockets at you in salvos of 3, and rockets hurt,
Yeah,
just like your
they
rockets.
They will give you.
Also, if you are playing that like from pistol start, you're using the rocket launcher, and he's immune to splash damage. He only takes damage from being hit by the rocket himself, which of course makes him not blow himself up like an idiot. But
Like-
yeah, so this chunk of planet Demios was floating above hell, so we're just gonna rappel down with our grappling hook.
Long rope, man.
The final
And
chapter.
we'll see next time. Yeah, the final chapter, totally.